Doing good, man. Ready for Friday. How you guys doing?
Busy.
Y'all staying here? Y'all going out? Or
Oh, yeah.
You don't know.
you don't even know yet?
I'm not in charge of that.
Or your family's here?
The last time I had like a full-on conversation with my grandma.
30 miles.
Yeah.
No, Ashley's in charge of social.
Is she?
activities.
Yeah.
I just get in the car and say, okay, where are we going?
Let's go. Kids get to eat like 4 or 5 times that day.
They won't until we get home. And then they'll want
Yeah,
something.
that's what. Where's the mac and cheese?
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna get done Thursday.
There we go.
Get out of there.
I'd like to call tonight's meeting to order and ask you to silence your phone. And please stand with me while Pastor Little offers the invocation.
Our heads together. Pray God, thank you for this wonderful Thanksgiving week that we are at the very beginning of right now. A lot of plans being laid, families getting together, friends coming together. What a great time. Help us to remember that really it's still about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is not about counting our blessings, it's about considering our blessings. Thanksgiving is about expressing our thanks to you, not just feeling thankful. So we say thank you today for a beautiful day, for all that you've done, for all the blessings that we have. We're grateful. Would you bless the proceedings that take place in this room tonight for the purpose of the betterment of our citizens, moving us forward. I ask you, God, to just give great wisdom and counsel to this group. And we thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's start off with item number 4, items of community interest, and there's a long list. First thing we want to do is to recognize and thank all the volunteers that showed up Saturday to do the hanging of the greens. In case you didn't notice, council members, we have all the lamp posts downtown are decorated for the Christmas season. I'd also like to recognize one of our very own was honored this weekend as hometown hero, Cindy, sitting in the background trying to hide from us. But Cindy Roller was recognized as a hometown hero this weekend, and I appreciate that very much. A couple of announcements. We're going to be closed Thursday and Friday for Thanksgiving. Shop Small Saturday is Saturday, November the 27th after Thanksgiving. The following Friday, which is the 3rd, will be our annual Christmas Sip and Stroll. The night before, on the 4th, this is Christmas Parade. The city Christmas party will also be Friday night on the 3rd. And on the day of the Christmas Parade, that morning, what time is it? 7 o'clock? What time is Pancakes with Santa? 7 o'clock, Pancakes with Santa. And in December, we will have one meeting. Mark your calendars for December the 13th. That's the only meeting we'll have in December.
Hey, Lynn,
Yes, ma'am.
they're also doing the Elfin Magic after that at the library.
After the Santa. So on December 4th, Elfin Magic is on after Santa's, Pancakes with Santa.
8 to 11 on Elfin Magic.
Okay. 8 to 11? Okay, 8 to 11, Elfin Magic. Anything else that anybody knows of? All right, well, let's move on and let's turn the meeting over to the city manager for the city manager report.
First, I'd like to introduce our new finance director. Pamela, please stand up. This is Pamela Woods. She's our new finance director, and I told her she had to come to the meeting tonight or I was going to fire her. So, no, I wanted everybody to meet Pamela. She's already done a fantastic job figuring out about our accounting stuff, and she's had a head start in that she's done this for years. So we're certainly glad to have her stop by and visit with her if you get a chance.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have that much pull, but you want to be good.
Can I come wine?
I told Pamela she could leave right after I introduced her, so if you see her sneak out, it's okay, so. The rest of my report, we've been besieged by sewer problems lately. Stoney and I were visiting last Friday, and he is carrying around several work orders for sewer problems. Our field crews have been doing a great job of keeping up, but we will continue to have problems as the weather turns colder. Every time we have a spell of sewer problems, I go to my bulletin board and see if it's in an area that we're replacing with our sewer line replacement program. 95% of the time, it's in a problem area that is going to be replaced. So I just wish we could hurry up and do it and take care of those problems, but the state moves slowly. The Texas Department of Agriculture has turned down our downtown revitalization grant, so it's back to the drawing board to see what we might have done differently on the application. I know of a city that did get funded, and I'm going to try and look at their application and see why they got funded and we did not. So hopefully I can get a friend to give us some stuff, and I think Cindy has a little inside track on that too, so maybe we can figure something out. We're going to apply again, that's what I'm saying. We've reached an agreement on the easements for the Southside sewer line on the Coker and Ashley properties. Hopefully we will begin construction soon after we've taken care of the legal paperwork. I have notified Hayter Engineering that we have reached an agreement, and as soon as we can, we will probably start bidding the project. So that's in the short future. We did some waterline work out on Highway 81 north of American Hat. We tied to a line in front of American Hat and ran a 6-inch line across their parking lot to feed a water to a new RV park that will begin operation soon in that area. And just kind of a side note, I got 3 calls today from people wanting water. One of them was out at the lake, and they just came to the wrong place. The other one was a half a mile outside of our city limits. Of course, that they're going to have to lay a line to that, and I can't remember what the other one was. So, as this area develops, we're going to see a lot of requests for water because it's really hard to know where they can drill for water and where they can't. So. And that was one of the options for the people that were a half a mile outside of our line. So the paperwork for opting out of the uplift debt obligation has been filed with the PUC this last week. We are not liable for any of the debt incurred during the February freeze, so I guess we can say that the big freeze is behind us, at least last year's. No news from FEMA on the February freeze application for funding for the disaster declaration. I'm told that someday, fairly soon, we will get money wired from them, and we won't know until then how much money we're going to get. That's just the way FEMA works. So anyway, I have not heard from them, and don't know if I will. But one of these days. And if I had my best guess, it would be about $88,000 that we'll probably get, which is better than sharp stick in the eye, but. By the same token, I applied for $1.3 million, so it's quite a bit less than we applied for. So, anyway, that's about all I've got. Anybody have any questions?
No questions? All right, let's move on to the next item, number 6, the consent agenda items. It's for the approval of the minutes November 8th. And a resolution 2021-36 authorizing the city manager to write off uncollected utility account receivables over 15 months. And resolution 2021-37 authorizing the city manager to write off uncollected library overdue fines over 15 months delinquent. Do I have a motion to accept as presented?
So moved.
Mr. Love, do I have a second? Mr. Gunner? Hopefully absent. Bates?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
And Gunner?
Aye.
And Love?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. The next item on the agenda is a presentation from Honeywell on the building efficiency and indoor air quality, and I'm gonna turn this over to Bert.
With us are Bob Heine and Joe Davis with Honeywell, and they're gonna go through a presentation citing what kind of work they're gonna be doing for us. So, you're on, Joe.
Mayor, council people, thank you very much for letting us come in and go over this meeting. One thing that I'd like to start by saying is that we are not asking for a vote tonight. We're not asking for you to accept what we're saying, because what we think is important is that we take what we're fixing to go over with you tonight and meet with you one-on-one. And because there's more than what we're gonna go over, and we need to let everybody know that's on the council, everything we looked for, everything we found, and then what we found out. And then, after that, we'll come back to the council and talk to y'all about moving forward. It's an infrastructure renewal program. I've been doing this for 25 years, all over the state of Texas, and, bless you.
Sorry.
Anyway, the infrastructure renewal follows Local Government Code 302, which is in the paper that I laid on each one of y'all's desks to go over it. And what we do is we come in first and do a preliminary study. The preliminary study is a high-level study that's at like a 50,000-foot level. In other words, Bob and I went through every building, looked at everything in that building. Then what we did is we called in our engineer, the engineer, and tore apart everything and looked at it. Now, when we do the detail study, we put electronics in place, and the electronics tell us what the inside's doing, not just the outside. So then we came back to Bert and told Bert what we found and asked to come and talk to y'all. And like I said, meet with y'all one-on-one to go over in detail what we found and what the savings is, because Local Government Code 302 says there has to be a savings in it. And that's before we can move to 2. So we've done 1, which is the preliminary study, and we're through with that. And Bob's fixing to go through everything that we found when we looked at it and kind of what the savings we found on that is. So, Bob?
Thank you, Joe. So once again, my name's Bob Heine, and I'm with Honeywell also out of our Richardson office. And we're here to talk about building efficiency. And one of the other key items on the agenda is indoor air quality, which has something to do with healthy buildings and also the COVID issue that we're all trying to address. So we've been speaking with Bert for quite a period of time. One of the first things that we discuss with Bert is what are the objectives that we need to address in order to move this program forward. So Bert slowly leaned across the desk and he said, we're always interested in saving money. So if you can help us save money, that would be good for the city. The second thing that he identified is, I'm busy enough, so please don't promote something that's going to put more of a burden on our shoulders. And that's a good point, because when you talk about building automation systems and those types of applications, sometimes you need a full-time operator to run that. But that's not the particular case with the technology that we're suggesting for the city. So no additional burdens on Bert. Item number 3, and I'm speaking to the outline that we put on your desk earlier, item number 3 is to address and provide some perspective and insight regarding indoor air quality and, once again, the COVID issue that's out there. So when our engineers come in for the investment grade audit, they'll be taking a look at, do we have the ability to do some air exchanges in these facilities? And in some cases, we have air coming in, outside air coming into the buildings, and we'd probably rather not have that, maybe from cracks in the windows, the doors, maybe some breaks in the outside walls and roof lines. So the engineers will take a look at that and help us address what opportunities are available there. And finally, the fourth objective that Bert identified is, if we don't have capital to pay for this to the city, and there's numerous financing options that are available in order to defer this cost out over a period of time. So those were the four objectives that we worked with Bert as Joe and I and other team members from Honeywell then began to take a look at the facilities. So what did we find? Well, there are 5 items, and we refer to those items as energy conservation measures. So there's 5 items that, as our engineers come back, that they're gonna look at for the city. It begins with building automation. So how can we better control the rooftop units that service these facilities so that, for example, when the meeting this evening is over at 8 o'clock, we don't necessarily turn the units off, but we allow that temperature to ramp up to something that allows us to save energy. In addition, if the facilities are closed this Thanksgiving and on Friday, these systems will make sure that the units are in an unoccupied mode during those periods. And then finally, during the weekends, if we're not here, then we'll be in an unoccupied mode. One of the keys is the Civic Center, because we've got some larger units over there, and we've got some infrequent occupancy at that facility. So here again, the system that would suggest will allow you to address both the infrequent occupancy and make sure that if somebody comes in there, we can recover the temperature in a very quick fashion. So the second item, it has to do with the units themselves, the rooftop units. Typically, the life cycle of these rooftop units, and quite frankly, this applies to our home units also, the life cycle of those units is about 12 to 15 years. The city has a few units that appear to be have more age than 15 years to them, and we have a couple of others that are in that neighborhood. So the issue that occurs when they reach the top end, of course, is failure, unexpected failure. But in addition to that, there's new systems today that are much more energy efficient than what we have in place if we have units that are 12 to 15 years old. So there's good things that we can do by replacing those units. The third item is addresses the wastewater treatment plant. And this is something that initially Joe and I didn't have the background to address, and we actually had an engineer drive up for a day out of Austin. And Randy took a look at that, and what we're dealing with here is a series of pumps that take the product and they move it from the city out to the wastewater treatment plant. Once we get it there, then the issue is the largest equipment that the city has is actually out at the wastewater plant. We have 2 75 horsepower aerators that work through the process of treating that product and moving it through the system. As Honeywell has dealt with other municipalities, we have others that are experts in how to optimize that process in moving the product from the city out to the wastewater treatment plant, then the controls in order to optimize the process, and then finally, how do we most efficiently run those 75 horsepower aerators. So we can help with that. And that's something that Randy has taken a look at and feels very comfortable with. A compliment that I'd like to give to the city, because on your outline you'll see a break there, is usually we'd be talking about lighting. But if you glance up, the city's already taken a lot of activity with their lighting and action. Earlier when Joe and I walked the facilities, we had a lighting contractor come out with us, and you already have efficient lighting in your facilities. So great for the city, Bert, good to be proactive in implementing some programs there. So then to wrap up what Honeywell will also address, we mentioned building envelope. So that takes a look at the seal of the building. Do we have the ability to bring in some outside air and air exchanges in these facilities? In addition to that, what about seals on the windows, the doors, and where the roof line meets the walls? So we'll take a look at all of those types of things. One of the key elements today is also healthy buildings. And we have some individuals, these engineers that come into these facilities have been briefed on COVID-type issues. So, Bert, we may come back and make a suggestion or two regarding how to better address the issue of COVID and for as city employees and others come into the facilities and then exit. So we'll take a look at that for you and give you some advice. The final item, number 5, is the swimming pool. The swimming pool is a chlorine application, and maybe you're aware of this, but today a lot of facilities are going to saltwater type applications. Reduces the wear and tear on the equipment, reduces costs for chemicals. So that's something that, if nothing else, will give you some direction and advice on. So as we continue to move forward, and we can give you a lot more details on all of these 5 items, but how big is this breadbasket that we're talking about, and what would be the capital expenditure? So, as we use some rough rules of thumb today, we're looking at a package, a program that we believe would run around $500,000. If you implement that program, the number one driver is, can you save us money? And we believe that by implementing these programs that I just outlined, we can save the city approximately $75,000 a year. Now here's where the key to the program comes. If we take the cost of the program, and the fourth objective that Bert identified was financing. If you take the $500,000 capital cost of the program and you defer that out, let's say over a 15-year period of time, the annual cost of the program is approximately $35,000 to $40,000. So if you take the savings of 75 minus the annual cost of 40, the net annual savings to the city is approximately $30,000 to $35,000. So we believe, we have a strong belief that we can generate that type of annual positive cash flow for the city by implementing these energy conservation measures. So what's the next step? Joe mentioned tonight, this is just informational purposes. Depending upon your request, we'd be delighted to come back out and meet with you as necessary in order to dive more deeper into the details of this. The next step is that Honeywell has provided Bert with what we refer to as a letter of intent. And so with the signature and the direction of the letter of intent, Honeywell will then bring in our engineers and they'll go through everything with a sharp pencil. Make sure the size of the units, that it meets the cooling requirements, and we'll get into the wastewater treatment plant also. We may bring in some subcontractors, as we mentioned with the lighting, in order to take a look at an item or two. At the end of that, Honeywell will produce a program, and the program will include specific cost, it will include projected savings, and then finally a financial package. If the city decides to go with that package, then we move forward. If at that time the city decides not to move forward, then we would ask for you to reimburse us our engineering cost, which we estimate to be about $19,000. So that's what we have. In quick summary, we think that there's 5 different energy conservation measures that would benefit the city. At this time, we think the capital cost to do that would be $500,000. The annual savings available would be approximately $75,000. If you finance the capital cost, the net positive cash flow annually would be about $30,000. So once again, that's the program. Bert, thank you for the opportunity to address the council.
Does the council have any questions? Yeah.
Okay, so the $19,000 engineering study, is that part of the 500,000? Or is that on top of it?
It would be. So if you move into the final package, that's the engineering cost,
Right.
development.
So that's
So
part
you're
of it.
correct.
Okay, so on the, what's the life expectancy on these units? Because before you said the other one's around 12 years?
12 to 15
Right. What do you-
is,
I know these are newer, modern. Are they still, they last longer? Are they the same or?
15 years, there's so many issues out there. I'd love to
Right.
tell you, Jason, that
No.
yes, it is. You know, we move around from refrigerant issues, if you're familiar with that. We
Right.
went from 123, 134,
Yep.
and now we've got more efficient and reliable. So,
Right.
15 years is a good number to put, that I would be comfortable saying, here's where we're at with that.
Okay. And on the payments, you mentioned it was a 15-year payoff. Is there different packages you can do? 'Cause-
Absolutely. So
Okay.
per the direction of the city, we can manipulate that or modulate the term, whatever the period you request.
Okay.
Yeah, the law requests and will not let you go more than 20 years.
Right. I just don't see stretching out like 20 years on a unit that's not.
No, I
gonna
don't
last that
either.
long.
We'll be right back in the same
So just
scenario,
rolling it
replacing
over.
stuff.
So,
So, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So like in 5 years, if we're still not, if, you know, for whatever reason, it's not as efficient as we projected, or we're not positive, then what happens? I mean, if we're running a deficit now, that's this whole system or whatever we've got going is costing us money, or not living up to where we were at with initially in the study, what happens then?
Well, the local government 302 and what it says, and it's your choice. In other words, what we will do is measure it yearly, if you ask us to. We will measure yearly to make sure that you're meeting everything that we said we would do. But of course, that yearly, there's a cost to that too, which we'll bring that to you when we have everything put together, what that cost is.
also, can
So-
y'all, I'm sorry. Brent,
No,
I didn't
you-
mean to interrupt you. Do you have any kind of an idea of what the maintenance costs on those units would be? Because that's the life expectancy, how to take care of them, maintenance, to keep them, keeping them maintained. Do y'all have any kind of an idea of what kind of maintenance costs those things would be, or can our guys maintain them? Do we have to have somebody, a third party, or?
So yes, there's nothing special there. Quarterly maintenance is the best.
Okay.
Taking a look at the air filters and keeping them clean for that evaporative coil is very important.
Right.
Beyond that, if you take a hose and hose down the condenser on the outside, you're good to go. As you know, that's a sealed loop on the Freon. So the issue is, hopefully, we never have a leak. And then if you do, you gotta determine where the leak is at. So there is no additional required maintenance on
Okay,
these
so
at
it's
all.
just like an older unit, it's just maintained the
Exactly
same
right.
way. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you guys, appreciate it.
So you'll know where I'm coming from, and when we started this whole process, I told them that it's gonna have to have like a 5-year payout. In other words, we save enough money that, in
Right.
5 years, it's all paid for.
And of course, like I said, what we wanted to do is to come and meet with you one-on-one, if you'll let us, go over everything, bring all our engineering reports, go over it with you, and at that point in time, you can decide whether to move forward or not.
I think that's best for my personal opinion, I'd prefer that.
Yes, because, I mean, that's the way I've always done it over the 25 years I've done this. I explained it, went through it, and then the council made a decision what they wanted to do.
And just to reiterate, the $19,000 fee comes in after we do all that, right? And then
Oh,
they-
yes.
And then they come in.
Yes,
I just want to make sure
yes.
I understood that.
So let me ask the council this. We can do a workshop, post a meeting for a workshop, and they can come talk to all of us. We could meet in the conference room, and we could go through this line by line whenever they're ready to present. Would that be something the council would be interested in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let us see what we can do about putting together a meeting where you guys can come and talk to all of us at the same time.
Yes, that'll be fine.
That's
Mayor.
what we'll work towards.
Okay,
Thank you for your presentation. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Y'all are welcome to stay, or if you wanna drive home in the dark, you can leave.
Well, it's not too morning.
Joe and Bob and I have visited, how many times y'all been down here? Numerous
Numerous.
times, and so we've gone over this multiple times, making sure everything fits within our requirements, so. It's not, it's something we've thrown together, so. Thank you, guys, we appreciate your presentation.
Let's move on to the next agenda item, which is to consider the airport lease, and Stoney is available for any questions that you guys may have. The lease agreement is in your packet for the construction and agreement between the City of Bowie, Jeff Metzler, and Karen Metzler to build the hangar out at the airport. Do you have anything, Stoney, that you want to say about this?
No, I just think it's a great idea since we haven't been able to afford to do that ourselves.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to do.
Well, the reason that we've not ever built any hangars is because financially it just won't work. There's no payout on it. And we can't get enough rent to make the payments on the building. So, what we're proposing here is to, give these guys a 30-year contract on the thing. After 30 years, the hangars revert back to our property. The city has always used a 20 or 25-year term, and it just won't work financially. And, you know, the whole idea of getting somebody in a hangar out there is to sell them more fuel. We make money on the fuel, and we don't make much on the hangars, but with them, and they'll be paying, it's $2,000 a month, is that right? I mean, $2,000 a year? $1,200 a year? I can't remember, but anyway, $1,200 a year rent on the ground, so. Anyway, that's basically what it is.
And it'll put 5 more planes out there, won't it? Can you store 5 more planes?
He's anticipating putting 3 in there to start with, and I know his wife is planning on running, flights out of there. She runs, cancer patients to and from different facilities. She volunteers her time for that, so I expect a lot of fuel sales.
A lot of fuel cells out of that.
So will they be leasing this to other people, or is this for their own business or own
There is
planes?
language in there that they can sublease with written approval from us. It's,
So this hangar's gonna look exactly like the other ones, nothing special.
yes,
Our contractors, their contractors
Their
work.
contractors, they're gonna meet our specs,
Okay.
the metal's supposed to match, roof lines are gonna match. He's actually gonna put 2 doors on that thing, 2 big box doors.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you the cost of the doors alone on this is gonna cost him $32,000 a piece.
Wow, yeah.
And we've already had interest in somebody else that wants to build another hangar out there, so.
How much more room do we have out there to build them? I know there's a lot of space up there. I mean, how many do you think we can get in there?
On the plans that we've had drawn up since I first came here 10 years ago, we can run 8 rows of hangars back towards the south that hold 10 units apiece.
Can you put them on the other side as well?
No,
No?
we get into the safety zone.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
You might need somewhere if something goes bad. Jason,
So this,
Sir?
might need some room if something goes bad.
Get a little hairy.
any way you look at it, this is a good deal for the city.
Yeah.
Are other municipal airports doing similar things like this around us, or?
Yes, and a lot of airports already have that.
Yeah.
Denton is probably a good example. That's pretty much how Denton grew, by letting people come in. Now, they do something that, well, I would never do. They actually let people live on the side, and we don't want that.
No.
Yeah, I've got a friend that lives in one of those, and it's very interesting. You have to make way or yield to airplanes going down the road. You have to actually physically go off the road while the airplane's driving through the neighborhood.
Like
It's
a good
very
thing.
weird, so.
All right, well, let's consider the airport lease construction agreement between the City of Bowie and Jeff Metzler and Karen Metzler. I'd entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Mr. Shaw, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Bates? Heppley's absent. Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
And Bates.
Aye.
All right, let's go down to the to the library board. Beth, do you have anything that you would like to say? If so, find your way to the microphone.
The first two, Thelma Roth and Karen Milchanowski, have already been serving, and they have a couple more terms. They're eligible to be reappointed, and they have both served very well on the library board, and I highly recommend reappointment. And then, you want me to just stop there and then we go to the next one?
Now go ahead and talk about the next one, that way we can go.
Lua Brown would be replacing Janelle Rogers, who has fulfilled her term. She has served 3 terms on the board, so she's no longer eligible. And Lua has been a longtime library patron. She's very active in our programs and things that we do, so I do believe she would be a very good board applicant.
All right, well, I will entertain a motion to reappoint Thelma Roth.
So moved.
Mr. Love, do I have a second?
Second.
Gunner? Bates?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
I would entertain a motion for Karen who?
Milchanowski.
Milchanowski to be reappointed to the board.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Love, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shaw? Bates?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
And then the last one is to appoint Lua Brown for her first term. I'd entertain a motion to appoint Lua Brown.
Make a motion.
Bates, do I have a second?
Second.
Post? Love?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
Gunner?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Thank you. Now you want to talk about the next item on the
Yes.
agenda?
Okay, back in June, I received a letter from the, some civil rights company saying that we were not in compliance with the National Voter Registration Texas Civil Rights Project, that we were not in compliance with the Texas Voters Registration code in Texas, that public libraries who serve the public are required by this code to ask new applicants or people updating addresses who have a library card if they wish to register to vote. So, and we were not in this alone. Nearly every library I've talked to had no idea that this was something that was required by public libraries. And so the state library sent out drafts of how we should formalize this policy. And I must say that the library has always, as long as I have worked there, provided the cards. If anybody come in and asked for them, we did have them on hand, and we would give them to them freely, or had them out on public display where anyone who wanted them could pick one up. But according to this state policy, we have to ask them if they wish to register to vote. So in order to be in compliance, we went ahead and on our registration cards, if somebody gets a card for the library, they have to fill out a registration form. So just like when you go apply for your driver's license, we just put a line in there that said, would you like to register to vote? They would check yes or no, and then we would give them the voter registration card. And it also states that if they give it back to us, we have 3 days to take it to the Monte County and turn it in. So we went ahead and implemented it right away, and then the board had to vote on it to officially put it in our policy manuals, and then y'all will have to also vote on it for it to be officially in our policy manual.
So just handing them a card doesn't
Well,
cut it.
We can't.
Yeah.
I mean, most people, they come in are already registered to
Sure.
vote. So if they check no, it's no. But now we have a record that we did ask So that if anybody ever came back to us
Yeah.
and said, you're not following, well, yes, we are, we asked, they said yes or no.
I mean, more people vote and register and vote, that's always, that's a good thing, but, I mean, what cost is it to you guys? I mean, as far as time and having to keep up with this stuff, is it a
Oh,
lot, or?
Oh, no,
Is it
no.
just-
Like I say, it just added a line to our registration card. We keep the
Okay.
cards handy, we hand them to them. You know, and most of the times, they'll fill it out and drop it in the mail. But if they needed us to, we would have to, if they handed it back to us, we would have to physically take it to the county seat, so.
Okay.
Well, is there a lot of new traffic in there, basically?
There is. You would not believe the amount of new cards we do every month, at least 20 a month. And I don't know where they come from, but we do a lot of new library cards.
Free
So.
Wi-Fi. That's
So,
good.
but it hasn't been an issue so far. Like I said, we went ahead and implemented it, and most people are already registered to vote, and if they're changing their address, and then we scan that into their record, our system, so that we have it, have an official record of it, so.
All right, well,
Good deal.
if she's answered all y'all's questions, listen to me, all of your questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the adding of the National Voter Registration Act implementation plan to the Bowie Public Library Policy Manual.
So moved.
Mr. Gunner, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Shaw, Post,
Aye.
Shaw,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Love, Gunner.
Aye.
That was easy. All right, let's get to the Nortex Planning Commission alternate designation. As you all know, Mr. Bell is no longer a part of the council, and he has been our alternate designation for ever. At least 4 years that I know of.
6 years.
6 years. Was he all 6 years? Bert is our actual designee.
Sure.
And I will go ahead and tell you that Ms. Bates has shown some interest in this, but I would entertain a motion to designate one of our council members to this position.
I go to the meeting every month, no matter what, unless something really unusual's happened. I've probably missed one meeting in the last 3 years, so.
And he goes for the food, don't let him lie to you.
I go for the barbecue. They serve lunch, and the reason I go is that's where we get our community development block grant applications done. There are other grant applications that are gonna be coming down the pike as time goes by, the way the president is throwing money around, so we might as well claim our share of it. But basically, I go and I try to take somebody from the city, one of the employees or something, to become familiar with the personnel up there. If you know those people and you're familiar with them, they'll call you when something comes up. If you don't go and participate, they won't call you. So, at any rate, when I can't go, somebody, needs to be designated to go in my place and vote or whatever. I can tell you this, that the county judges run the place. Cities don't have that much participation, but like I said, that's where we get our community development block grant money, applications done, and there's some more applications that I've seen coming down the pike. So, somebody else coming to, when I can't go there, or if they want to go with me and, just sit there, which is what I used to do when Wayne was our representative. I'd sit there and keep my mouth shut and head down, but I became familiar with the process and participate now. In fact, I'm on a committee that I don't necessarily like to be on. There's one person designated from each cog in the state that advises, that's not a good word, argues with the Texas Department of Agriculture about the way they score grants and stuff, and none of us agree with them, but this last time when we had a meeting, we had a 5-hour meeting on Zoom with one 10-minute and one 20-minute break during lunch. They expected us to eat lunch during that 20 minutes. But anyway,
So you're trying to talk us out
and
of not doing
basically
that.
they just said, this is how we're gonna score the grants, and that's all there is to it. And so, the state of Texas is that way, so. Anyway,
So Christie, have you changed your mind?
If anybody else wants it, speak up. So,
it's a free meal. Actually, the city pays for our meals, so.
I'll make the motion that Christy Bates be appointed as the alternative.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Post? Gunner?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Bates?
aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
You can vote for yourself, it's okay.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank you.
Don't come back to us complaining, you know. So number 7 is Resolution 2021-38, a resolution authorizing participation in the tax pool investment pools and designating Pamela Woods as the authorized representative. She is our new finance director. She would be the person to be
If you'll notice,
designated to that.
It uses the word "and authorized representative." We have 3 of us that are on it, checks and balances, so she's just gonna be added to it, when Carrie was taken off.
So I need a motion for this resolution.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gunner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Love?
Aye.
Bates?
Aye.
Post?
Aye.
Shaw?
Aye.
And Gunner?
Aye.
I probably need to use this opportunity to talk about Pamela. She's been here 2 weeks. She's figured out stuff that would take me 2 years to figure out. You can tell how experienced she is. She's really good. She's got that financial mind, and so it really makes me appreciate her, so.
Have all of you had a chance to meet her?
Not yet.
You should probably go in and take a minute and meet her. Just so she can put a name to the face. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have anybody that has any public comments? I took care of yours for you. If there is nothing else, then I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 6:46. Thank you.
Hey, please, you bet. Thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
She handles all your.